How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Happy to be here.
Can you introduce something about yourself?
So my name is Brennan, and I am an English teacher here. Surprise, surprise. I teach IELTS. I've been teaching for about 3 years here.
3 years.
And I have a degree in psychology and social sciences and social ecology. And so, yeah, I also teach meditation. I've taught meditation for 10 years, and I do yoga and movement. So most of my free time, I'm like out in the park.
Oh, that's why she told that he got a big ass.
He's got a big ass.
Well, you can ask me any questions.
Okay, how long have you been here?
I've been here for 3 years.
And why you choose here?
When I was in uni, I studied abroad for 2 years. I got a lot of scholarships, and I was able to go study in Ghana and then in London. And then when I went back to California for my final year, I was like, I do not want to be here. And so my mom was actually living in China teaching English, and I didn't like China. I definitely want to go to an Asian country, and so like all my research was like Vietnam is the best place for teaching English.
Yeah, but why don't you choose differences place in Vietnam but Ho Chi Minh City?
I was choosing, I wanted to be in a city. I wanted to have like a big city life, but I didn't really have much time to plan. I was getting kicked out of my uncle's and I didn't have really anywhere to go. So I was just kind of like, I need to go to a city where I can find work. And that was the most important thing for me. It wasn't like, I want to go have this cultural experience. Like I had already been to 16 countries. It was like, I need to find work and get settled somewhere.
As you said, there was something bad in your family.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the summer that I came out, and then I went and I lived with my uncle for 3 months, and then he was kicking me out. So I just like took little money I had and I booked a flight here, a one-way ticket.
How old were you back then?
I was 25.
Voila. I think I can actually agree with you on like coming to Vietnam for escaping. I mean, I didn't come out, but I was in a very harsh environment, and I think to add to it, Vietnam is such a nice place to kind of find yourself, because you can get a stable job here and you have enough free time to, you know, meditate and to really find out where are you going to go with your life from now. But for living in Saigon, high-paced life, I can imagine you had some difficulties.
Oh, definitely. Even with Saigon, like I feel like I had this honeymoon phase and then this hostility phase. I was like, oh, I hate this so much. They're so loud and all the construction and then I went home and then I was like, I need to go back to Saigon. I like needed to go home, and then I was like, you know, this is a great place. I feel safe here as a queer person. And so when I came out and I was in America, I definitely felt unsafe. I was like, someone's gonna beat me up. Here, I never felt that, even with my long-term partner.
Walking at night in Vietnam is not as scary as walking at night in South Africa, or as I imagine it would be.
You know, it's funny, the one time that I was triggered and scared here was when like I was walking alone at night and it was a foreigner like who was like creeping me out. He like looked like he was sleeping outside, right? Like, you know, and he was like talking to me about like the revolution. He was like, you remember the revolution? It was there, and the Cambodians were there, and the Filipinos, and there was all this blood. And I was like, no, I do not remember any revolution, but like you can keep that joint and continue anyway. And it was the only time that I felt afraid. I was like, it's not a Vietnamese people. I'm like, oh hi, and then like a foreigner who reminds me of someone back home, alone at night in a park. Now I'm like, he might try to take my money.
The little I have.
Why didn't you live with your mom and dad, but your uncle?
No, I didn't live with my mom and dad for almost a decade. I moved out when I was 17, and so I was living on my own. My parents lost their businesses, so when I went off to university, my mom actually moved to China with my stepfather. They went there to teach English.
At that time, how old were you? What were you doing? And how did you happen to be living with your uncle?
So in 2008, I graduated high school, and then I went to university. A year after my freshman year, they left. I moved to Orange County, which is like a 2-hour drive from where I was living. And then I actually got kicked out of my university. I didn't pass a certain class, so I continued working, and I went to a community college and then transferred to the University of California.
You managed that all by yourself?
All by myself, yeah.
Oh my God.
I was in school for 8 years. And there was times I was homeless, legit homeless. There was times where like my friend and I went to the beach and we drove back and someone was throwing all my stuff on the lawn. And I was like, what are you doing? And the guy was like, oh, the landlord said no one lives here. So I like went and just slept on my friend's couch. And so I was very used to surviving. So yeah, when I got to my uncle's and then when I came there, like, I don't think they could understand how big it was that I had just come out of the closet. I came out like a month before. And so for them, there was no new Brennan, there was just Brennan. And the only reason I went there was because my senior year, I was applying for a Fulbright scholarship, and they fully fund a 1 year of study. I was the only applicant who was already accepted into a program. In my mind, I was like, I'm gonna graduate and go to London. So for a year, I worked on this scholarship.
Finding my time to shine, right?
And then I didn't get it. And so I was just kind of angry at the world, and I was angry at this meditation, and I was angry at God. I was like, I believe I've been doing everything right, and why didn't I get this? So I came out the same summer I graduated. So in a lot of ways, it was a huge
kaboom of lots of things happening.
And so when I came out, I lost my religion. You know, we don't support that. So I lost school, I lost that stability, I lost my straight identity, and then I lost my religion, and I showed up on my uncle's doorstep, and they were like, you need to work. They had a farm, and so I was working on the farm, and they wanted 20 hours a week from me, and I was also working at Starbucks, and I was working at a food truck, so I was working 7 days a week. If I asked for rest, they were like, you need to work, you should not be lazy, we're letting you stay here.
Oh my God.
And so we just had a lot of conflict. You know, I wanted to rest. I was exhausted, I was tired.
People do not see emotional strain.
No, they don't. It was invisible to them. You know, like they needed to teach me a lesson in responsibility. They didn't see that I had been surviving for 8 years. I didn't need them to tell me, work hard. And right now, what I don't need is that lesson. What I need is love. No one really ever was like, we want you to know you're safe here. You know, we want you to know that we love you. So, I know I need to be strong, but can you make me feel strong? Can you make me feel supported? Can you make me feel my existence is important? And so I was in this situation where like, really it was my aunt. My aunt secretly just did not like me, but she didn't want to get her hands dirty with me. So she was sending my uncle, she was sending my cousin to yell at me and to be like, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I slowly just found that,
you became a responsibility.
I became a responsibility.
And she did not like you for that.
And so I sat them down finally, and I was like, here, I have a 3-month plan to go to Vietnam. I've been thinking about it, what are your thoughts? And they were like, oh, well, actually, we were gonna tell you that you actually have 30 days to move out. And, you know, I was like, well, is there any way I can just stay for 90 days? Like, I know exactly what I need to save. And my aunt was just like, Brennan, you don't have a say in this. And I was sitting in there, sitting like this, and I like looked at my uncle, and I was like, can you help me here? Like, and then I looked at my uncle, and I was like, I'm tired. I'm tired of doing this. You know, I was kicked out when I was 12. My mother kicked me out on Christmas. Over the 8 years throughout school, I had over 50 roommates. That's how many times I moved. My stuff was constantly like in bags, in boxes. And so I really thought that I could relax there and just recuperate and recover, you know? And it ended up, that was by far the loneliest time of my life, the darkest time of my life, because even though I was going through stuff, I always had my siblings, I had my friends, but there I was on this farm and I had no one. I had absolutely no one.
So you said that when you were 5, your dad abused you, like
My stepfather.
your stepfather.
Yeah, my mom remarried and my stepfather was emotionally and physically and mentally abusive.
What happened to your real father?
He moved to Arizona. It was visitation, so we lived mostly with my mom. My stepfather, he's very manipulative, and of the 6 kids, I was the one that couldn't be manipulated.
The one sassy one, right?
No, not sassy.
But talking back, right?
I was talking back.
I was this.
I would be like, why do I have to call you dad? You're not my dad. You know, smack you. I am your dad. When we would call CPS, Child Protective Services, and we would go to court to say like he was being abusive, he would buy everyone donuts and like spend the whole week kind of treating all the kids. And then I found out later that I was the only one who was telling a consistent story. You know, and so he didn't like that. So when I was 12, and so it was Christmas, like the most special day, and everyone was getting these gifts that I wasn't getting. And so I was like, why are they getting these gifts? I was asking my parents, they're like, oh, we have a special gift for you. And then we went to the airport to go to my dad's, and my mom handed me a manila envelope with 2 collage photos and some papers that I didn't know. And I was like, and I saw the photos, it was our family. She was like, those are your immunization records, so you can enroll in school with your dad. Because if you think he's so great, you should stay with him.
Gosh.
And so you can't come back.
What kind of mom
Would do that? That's intense. Like how can they do that? Like just post you off on Christmas and then wrap it up as a gift.
It was him. He manipulated her to think that it made sense. And so like Christmas now, I always get really sad around Christmas. I mean, it was from all angles, you know. It was physical, it was emotional. It's taken a lot of work to heal that. Coming back to what I was saying with my uncle, I remember very specific moments when I looked in his eyes and I was like, I am tired of being kicked out. And I'm trying my best not to piss anyone off, and I'm just begging you, please don't do that to me too. And because we were strangers and he had no idea of my history and no idea of what I was really carrying with me, he ended up, you know, adding to that experience for me, so.
Yeah. So get back to your childhood. When did you realize that the difference of your sexuality?
That's interesting. I think that I was made fun of for being gay before I knew what it was or what I was, and so like masculinity is very intense in America, but especially in communities of color. Like I'm from a Black and Latino community, and it's very normal for people to, you know, say, "Why you acting like a little bitch? Why you acting like a little faggot?" You know, I have a twin sister.
Oh,
yeah,
What?
I have a twin sister. I had my brothers and then my sister, and so like I liked boy things. I genuinely like the superheroes and the ninjas and the action movies and the fighting and then
the bikes and the cars. And
yeah, but I also loved playing with my sister's Barbies, or like sometimes wearing her dress, and there was an age where she started to have her own friends. I wanted to hang out with her girlfriends. One of her friends came over and was like obsessed with Britney Spears. She was like, "Have you heard Britney Spears?" It was like in 1997, like when her first album came out, and then I became obsessed with Britney Spears. I would blast it.
like baby one more time.
Hit me baby one more time, yeah. Like 6th grade was the first time I started getting bullied. That was the first time. I was called a faggot, and I remember on the playground there's one time this guy Chris, like I was on the slide and he like literally like kicked me in my chest and I like flew and fell. And so the bullying was a mix between like me being girly and an easy target, and then also being friends with the girls. Like that would always get me drama because the guys did not like that. I wasn't feeling like I was gay. I was just being made fun of for being softer.
For not being I'm a money man.
Yeah. But then in junior high, I started being more attracted to men. I think it was like seeing gay porn.
Where did you see that?
I like watched a lot of porn. Like my brothers, we'd always be like, oh, look at this, and a Playboy magazine, and like, oh, look at this website. And like one day I like clicked on it and was like intrigued so much. But then also throughout high school, I had all of these like secret relationships in my head. There were like guys that were like in my class that I was like secretly had a crush on, and like was picturing like this whole thing while having girlfriends.
You had a girlfriend, but you crushed on a guy.
Yeah.
So you date a girl before?
I dated many women. I had many girls found me attractive. But then when I was my senior year, my sister was like, oh, this gay guy in the band room, he thinks you're so hot. And she told me that, and I was like, that's gross. And then it secretly like this was the first time that I had some guy say, it was always like girls were always saying they were attracted to me. They were always sending me love notes. And so that became like, it really turned something on to me, and I was like really intrigued, and I was like, and it was nice because he was in the band, and like no one knows him. It's kind of safe. Like I was always afraid, oh, my friends cannot find out. And I had a lot of friends. I was very social, and so there was this guy who no one knew who was attracted to me. And so like I did this like long like way of getting into contact with him. Like I slowly started going, my sister would hang out in the band room, so I slowly started going there. And actually I reached out to one of my sister's cheerleader friends, Donald. He's one of my best friends in life now. He's super gay. Like the most gay like ever. Just like he would come up to track in like booty shorts that said bitch. And he'd be like, what's up bitch, what's up Lagman, let's go. You know, he was always doing all that. And so I reached out to him, I was like, I have feelings for this guy, can you help me? And so he was helping me through that. And so that summer I had this like summer fling with this kid from band. We ended up like arguing and breaking up.
How long was the relationship?
It was 3 weeks.
In teenage time, that's like
a lot. But I was taking my parents' car to his place because he was like also not out of the closet, and I actually got caught taking the car. And like I remember the first time we kissed, I had picked him up in the car and we were like looking out of the window, and I was just like reached over and kissed, and like it was like everything was like boop boop boop. And so after that, I was getting on my way to go to university, and I was like, I felt like, okay, that wasn't right. And so I went back in the closet. So I was like, let's start over. Let's pretend that didn't happen.
Reboot?
Yeah. So then I just kind of went back in the closet, and then I just didn't have any intimate interactions with anyone.
Sexual,
like no sexual, no real intimacy.
And then the next love, how did you come out?
Ooh, that's a big jump.
So you were like not having relationships for a very long time.
For a very long time.
Like how long?
2008 to 2016.
8 years?
8 years, yeah.
Ooh.
But why?
Well, when my mom moved to China and I got kicked out of my university, I was very depressed. And I was just angry. I was really angry at my mom. I was like, why am I here? I don't know what to do. My health and everything went down, down, down. And then my mom was doing this meditation that became my religion. And I called her one day, I was like, I need to meditate. I want to try it. And we meditated on Skype. It was the first time in my life that I felt my spirit, and I just jumped into this meditation. So I went from the life of the party to like staunch meditation. Like I was like, I'm not gonna cuss. I'm like gonna wake up at 5 a.m.
I'm not even gonna drink coffee because coffee is bad for you.
Yeah. I found in this meditation, in this ideology, they're like, homosexuality is like imbalance inside of yourself, and if you meditate, you can pray it away. So that became a part of it, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna meditate, and this little blip that I had with this guy, it was just, I'll fix that, I'll work that out. It was a huge tool for me to manage my childhood trauma, to manage my depression and anxiety, and it helped me get my life together. And then I found family. They were my family, so I wasn't alone anymore. And so I neglected my intimacy.
So you were celibate for 8
years.
For
8 years.
I can't imagine that. That must have been so tough. Anyway, so right.
Why?
So you were at your uncle's place, and you said that you came out to 1 month before. So that means you came out to your family within the religion.
Yeah, I had a graduation party and I gave a speech, and that's when I came out. Then I shared that speech online. I think like coming out is not a singular event, it's like a huge ongoing process.
Continuously have to come out, dude.
But I think the defining moment is really coming out to yourself. And so there was a moment where I was like, I am gay. But by that time I had come out already to my parents and to my friends and stuff. And I mean, I'm very lucky my parents were accepting.
That's your real dad, right?
Yes, my real father. And I want to draw this distinction. There's acceptance and then there's support. And I don't think that I found much support. I think that people thought, we have said we accept you. But
go on.
But support is asking me about it. And so I felt like almost like it was taken for granted how easy it was. Everyone was just like, oh, you're out. Yay, rainbows and sparkles, how exciting, yay, okay. And so it didn't feel as good as I would have hoped. I think the universe brought me here to be with myself. And now a lot of that healing has come from like, you know what, I see myself and I love myself and I support myself. So I've been doing this work of like going back to these different times in my life when I've had trauma and being that person that I needed for myself. And so in the future, like I actually moving forward, I want to be a healer. And so I do a lot of meditation, a lot of meditative movement. And
so, do you have anything to say with your family or your relatives?
Your uncle especially.
I just want to say that I love you. I love my family, and I think that the way that my family has perceived me as this very negative person, just seeing like this amount of pain, this amount of sadness is a reflection of how much this person cared. And so to my family, I want to say that like I am growing, I'm healing, and I love you. And I forgive you, and I want you to know that every action has consequences. Everyone is human, everyone has the capacity to hurt or to be hurt. You know, everyone in my family is so quick to be like, you do this, and you always do that, and everyone's so used to pointing out, but no one can point within. I want my family to fight with themselves the same way that they fight with each other, and maybe we'll stop fighting. And and then to my uncle, like, you know, I love him and I'm grateful for the ways that he was supportive to me, and I just want him to know that he did hurt me. When you look to nature, when you look to like even the human body as a lesson, pain is a natural part of existence. Because pain is a teacher. So why are we afraid of pain? We need to look pain in the face and say, hey, behind you is healing. So I'm saying to my family, to my uncle, you hurt me and here's my pain, and now what only comes after that is healing. And that's the most important thing.
Hey, pain.
Or, hey, pain, what are you showing me today?
What are you teaching me?
What are you teaching me today? That's what I ask. So pain is a teacher. It can be a teacher if you see it that way. If you treat it like an enemy, then you're gonna be fighting. So that's my message.
But I could talk to him forever and ever and ever, because I feel like we have like kind of the same brain waves, but it is the end of the show and we have to say goodbye, but I hope it's not forever goodbye. Yeah,
well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's great to have this platform to talk about it.
But you forgot his gifts.
Can you give it to me? Where is the gift? Here. I forgot to give you the gift.
It's like Christmas.
This time, I want you to remember that Christmas can be different and you have to change the memory. You are capable of changing that memory, okay? Here you are.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming and share your stories. Yeah.